The boutique door chime tinkled like a mocking laugh as I shoved Riley against the full-length mirror. My fist cocked back. The world narrowing to the pulse of betrayal thundering in my ears. "You lied to me," I hissed, my voice cracking like cheap glass under heel. "For a decade, every late night, every half-smile, every time you pulled away when I needed you most." Her green eyes, usually sparkling with that effortless mischief, now brimmed with a storm I'd never seen. And in that split second before her lips parted, I realized the secret she'd buried wasn't just words. It was the shape of us, twisted into something I couldn't unsee. We'd been orbiting each other since freshman orientation at NYU. Two wide-eyed kids from opposite coasts thrown into the concrete jungle of Manhattan. I was Cassidy Hayes, the overachieving journalism major from Atlanta, all fire and deadlines, scribbling notes on napkins about the next big story that would make me untouchable. Riley Whitaker, the art school rebel from Portland, with her paint-splattered Converse and a laugh that could disarm a room full of skeptics, was my anchor in the chaos. 10 years later, 28, we were still inseparable best friends who finished each other's sentences, split Ubers at 2 a.m. after too many Cosmos, and knew the exact shade of lipstick that made the other glow under bar lights. That Saturday in early fall, the air crisp with the promise of turning leaves, we ditched our laptops for a rare girls' day in Soho. Retail therapy, Riley had declared over our morning text, attaching a winky emoji that made my stomach flip in that familiar, unnameable way. I'd laughed it off, as always, because what else do you do when your best friend's charm feels like a drug you're too scared to quit? My life was a whirlwind, chasing scoops on corruption in City Hall, dodging advances from sleazy editors, and nursing the fresh bruise of my breakup with Mark, the Wall Street bro who'd ghosted me after 6 months of "I love yous" that tasted like bourbon and regret. "Cass, you need this," Riley said as we stepped out of the subway, linking her arm through mine. The streets buzzed with weekend energy, street performers juggling fire, tourists snapping pics of cast-iron facades, the scent of fresh pretzels mingling with exhaust. She looked effortlessly radiant in her oversized denim jacket over a cropped tee, her auburn waves catching the sunlight like threads of copper. Me? I'd thrown on skinny jeans and a vintage band tee. My curls wrestled into a ponytail that was already rebelling. Mark was a tool. "You deserve sequins in spite shopping," I snorted, bumping her shoulder. "Spite shopping? Is that a thing now?" "It is if I say it is." Her grin was infectious, the kind that made the knot in my chest loosen just a fraction. We dove into the boutiques like sharks, Zara for impulse buys, then that hidden gem on Prince Street with the velvet clutches that whispered, "Treat yourself." Bags piled up, an emerald green dress for Riley that hugged her curves like a lover's promise, a leather jacket for me that screamed, "New chapter." Laughter echoed off the polished floors as we modeled outfits in changing rooms, critiquing with brutal honesty and stolen sips from a shared flask of whiskey tucked in her purse. It was in the third store, a quirky vintage spot crammed with 90s relics and fairy lights, that the thread started to unravel. We were rifling through a rack of silk scarves when Riley's phone buzzed incessantly from her bag. She silenced it with a flick, but not before I caught the name on the screen, Elena. My eyebrow arched. Elena? As in, the Elena from that gallery opening last month? The one who kept accidentally brushing your hand? Riley's cheeks flushed, a rare crack in her cool. "It's nothing. Just networking." She busied herself with a scarf, draping it dramatically over her shoulders. But the buzz came again, insistent, and this time she cursed under her breath, snatching the bag to dig for the phone. In her haste, something fluttered out, a small, Yellowed envelope. Unsealed. Landing at my feet like a fallen leaf. I bent to pick it up. Curiosity overriding manners. The handwriting on the front was elegant. Looping to Riley. My light in the dark. No return address. Postmarked 10 years ago from Brooklyn. My thumb brushed the edge. And before I could stop myself, I was sliding out the single sheet of paper inside. The words hit like a gut punch. Dearest Riley, I know you think this is madness, but I can't pretend anymore. Last night, under the stars on the rooftop, when you kissed me, God, felt like coming home. You're the color in my grayscale world, the beat in my silence. Don't run from this. Don't run from us. Meet me tomorrow. I love you. Always. C. As in Cassidy. My name. Scrawled in ink that had faded but not vanished. My heart slammed against my ribs. The store's chatter fading to a dull roar. I stared at the letter. Then at Riley, who'd gone pale as the envelope itself. Cass, she started, reaching for it. But I yanked it back. The silk scarves forgotten on the floor. What the hell is this? My voice was a whisper shout, drawing glances from a nearby sales clerk. The air between us thickened, charged like the moment before a thunderstorm. Riley's eyes darted to the door, then back to me, pleading. Not here. Please. Let's just go. But I couldn't move. The letter trembled in my grip, each word a dagger twisting deeper. 10 years. We'd shared dorm rooms, heartbreak playlists, secrets about crushes on professors and one-night stands that left us giggling in the dark. And this was a bomb she'd defused and buried, right under the foundation of everything we were. We paid for our things in stunned silence, me swiping my card on autopilot, her murmuring thanks to the clerk like nothing had detonated. Outside, the Soho streets felt alien, the hipsters in limos mocking our private apocalypse. My place, I said finally, hailing a cab with more force than necessary. Riley nodded, sliding in beside me, our thighs brushing in the cramped back seat. The drive uptown was torture, her staring out at the blurring lights, me clutching the letter like a talisman against the rising tide of questions. My apartment in Harlem was a sanctuary of exposed brick and overflowing bookshelves, the kind of space that smelled like coffee and ambition. I tossed my bags by the door, flicked on the lamp, and rounded on her. Talk. Now. Riley sank onto the couch, elbows on knees, head in hands. It was sophomore year. That party at the rooftop bar, the one where we got blackout drunk on cheap sangria and danced until security kicked us out. I remembered vividly. The city sprawled below us like a glittering promise. Her hand warm in mine as we swayed to some indie track neither of us knew the words to. We'd collapsed in a heap afterward, her head on my shoulder, whispering about dreams and fears until dawn crept in. I'd woken with her curled against me, and something in me had stirred, curiosity, maybe affection, but I chalked it up to the booze and buried it deep. You kissed me, I said, the words tasting foreign on my tongue. Not a question. Accusation. She looked up. Green eyes raw. Yeah. I did. And you kissed me back. For a second. Cass. It was real. The memory flooded in then. Sharp as shattered glass. Her lips soft and tentative. Tasting of strawberries in summer. The world tilting on its axis. But then the panic, the what-ifs crashing in like waves. I'd pulled away, laughed it off as drunk girl stuff, changed the subject to brunch plans. And she'd let me. Let it die right there on that rooftop. Why didn't you say anything? I paced the room, the letter crumpling in my fist. 10 years. Riley. We've been God. We've been everything to each other. And you just hid this. Because I was scared. Her voice broke. And she stood, closing the distance between us. Too close. The air hummed with the ghost of that kiss. You were straight, Cass. Or at least, that's what you said. Dating guys. Chasing stories. Building this life that didn't have room for complications. I loved you too much to ruin us. So I swallowed it. Dated Elena. Dated half a dozen women who weren't you. Painted it out in canvases I never showed anyone. But it was always there. Every time you cried over some asshole. Every time you leaned on me, I wanted to be enough. But I wasn't. Her words hung heavy. A confession laced with the salt of unshed tears. I wanted to scream. To shove her away. But my body betrayed me, leaning in. Drawn to the heat of her like a moth to flame. And the letter? You kept it. All this time. A reminder, she whispered. Of what I couldn't have. The dam broke then. I dropped the letter. My hands finding her face. Thumbs tracing the freckles I'd memorized without knowing why. Our kiss wasn't tentative this time, it was a collision. Fierce and forgiving. Her arms wrapping around my waist as if I might vanish. She tasted like home. Like the missing piece I'd been fumbling for in every wrong turn. We stumbled back to the couch. Shopping bags crunching underfoot. The cities hum a distant lullaby. But as her fingers tangled in my curls, pulling me closer, a shadow flickered at the edge of my mind. This wasn't just a revelation. It was a fracture. What else had she hidden? And could I trust the woman who'd lied by omission for a decade? The next morning dawned gray and unrelenting. Rain lashing the windows like it was trying to wash away the night. I woke tangled in Riley's arms. Her breath warm against my neck. The scent of her lavender and turpentine, wrapping around me like a spell. For a heartbeat, it was perfect. Sunlight filtering through the blinds in slivers. Her leg draped over mine. The soft rise and fall of her chest syncing with my own. Then reality clawed its way in. Sharp as the hangover pulsing at my temples. I slipped out of bed quietly. Padding to the kitchen in nothing but her discarded shirt. The fabric soft against my skin. Coffee brewed with a hiss. And I leaned against the counter. Staring at the letter on the table. I love you. Always. See. My handwriting. Young and hopeful. What the hell had I been thinking? Back then. I'd been experimenting, kissing girls at parties to feel alive. To push against the boxes my conservative family back in Atlanta had tried to cram me into. But Riley? She'd been different. Real. And I'd run. Hey, her voice, husky from sleep, pulled me back. She stood in the doorway, wrapped in my throw blanket, auburn hair a wild halo. Vulnerability etched her features, the slight swell of her lower lip where I'd bitten too hard, the faint bruise blooming on her collarbone from my grip. You okay? I handed her a mug, our fingers brushing in that electric way that now felt loaded. I don't know. Last night was intense, she sipped, eyes never leaving mine. Regrets. No, the word came quick. Surprising even me. But questions. A lot of them. We settled at the table. The rain a steady drumbeat outside. Over toast and black coffee. The story spilled out, not just the kiss, but the layers beneath. How Riley had agonized for weeks after. Drafting letters she never sent. Watching me date frat boys and intern at the Village Voice with a smile that masked her ache. I applied to that residency in Paris right after, she admitted, tracing patterns in the condensation on her glass. Told you it was for the art scene. But really? I needed distance. To breathe without you everywhere. Paris. 3 months she'd vanished sophomore year. Sending postcards of the Seine splashed with watercolor sketches. I'd missed her fiercely. Filled journals with rants about how empty the apartment felt. I thought you were just chasing your dream, I said softly. It was. You were. She reached across, lacing our fingers. Coming back was harder. Seeing you with that guy, Josh, the one with the motorcycle, gutted me. So I built walls. Dated Elena last year because she was safe. Uncomplicated. But it was always you, Cass. In every stroke of paint, every late-night call, her honesty cracked something in me. A wall I hadn't known was there. I'd spent years curating my life, the bylines, the power suits, the string of boyfriends who checked boxes but never lit the spark. Mark had been the latest casualty, his charm curdling into control, tracking my phone, dismissing my ambitions as cute hobbies. Breaking up had been a relief, but hollow. Until now. I think I've been in love with you too, I blurted, the words tumbling out like they'd been waiting forever. Not then. Maybe. But these past years, the way you see me, really see me, it's more than friendship. I just didn't have the language for it. Riley's smile was sunrise after storm. And she pulled me into her lap. Our mugs forgotten. We kissed slow this time. Exploratory. Mapping the terrain we denied for so long. Her hand slid under the shirt, tracing my spine with reverence. And I arched into her, whispering her name like a prayer. The morning blurred into afternoon, lazy explorations on the couch. Shared showers that steamed the mirrors with laughter and gasps. Her fingers painting promises on my skin. But bliss is fragile. And mine shattered that evening with a knock at the door. I answered in leggings and a tank, expecting takeout. But it was Elena, tall, boy, with a sleek bob and eyes like chipped ice. She held a bottle of wine and a key I recognized as mine. Her gaze flicking past me to Riley, who'd frozen in the kitchen doorway, towel drying her hair. Riley? I thought we were meeting at the gallery. Elena's voice was silk over steel, confusion sharpening to suspicion. What's going on? The air thickened, rain still pounding outside like an accusatory heartbeat. Riley stepped forward, wrapping an arm around my waist. A possessive gesture that felt both protective and damning. Elena. This is Cassidy. My girlfriend. The word hung there. New and untested. Elena's laugh was brittle. Girlfriend? Since when? Last week you were dodging my calls, saying you needed space to figure things out. And now this. Her eyes narrowed on me. Then back to Riley. Is she why? The best friend you've mooned over for years. Riley stiffened. It's not like that, isn't it? Elena set the wine on the side table with deliberate calm. But her hands trembled. I knew there was someone. The way you'd light up at your phone, then shut down. But her? Got. Riley. That's not space, that's sabotage. I pulled away slightly. The warmth of Riley's arm suddenly heavy. Wait. What do you mean? Mooned over for years. Elena's gaze softened with pity. She never told you? About the letters? The paintings? Hell, she has a whole series in her studio, portraits of you. Cass. Naked. Clothed. Laughing. Crying. It's obsessive. Beautiful. But obsessive. Riley's face drained of color. Elena. Stop. No, Elena's voice rose, cracking the fragile piece. You deserve to know what you're signing up for. She broke us because she couldn't let you go. And now, you'll break too. The door slammed behind Elena, leaving a vacuum that sucked the air from the room. I turned to Riley, heart hammering. Portraits? Letters, plural. She sank onto the couch, head in hands. I didn't want to overwhelm you. It was my way of coping. The letters were practice, dozens, burned or hidden. The paintings, they're private. Meant to capture you. Not trap you. But you hid them from me. From us. Betrayal bloomed hot in my chest, mingling with the love that still simmered. How many secrets? Riley, how much of you is real? And how much is the version you think I want? We argued through the night, voices echoing off the walls, punctuated by sobs and silences heavier than words. She confessed it all. The anonymous Venmo payments that had covered my rent during lean months after graduation. I couldn't watch you struggle. The white lie about her flu, that kept her from my engagement party with Josh. I'd have shattered seeing you in white. Each revelation was a thread pulled, unraveling the tapestry of our friendship. By dawn, exhausted and raw, we lay facing each other on the bed, the space between us a chasm. I'm sorry, she whispered, tracing my cheek. I thought protecting you meant protecting us. And I'm sorry for not seeing you, I replied, voice thick. For running then. For not chasing now. We made love again at sunrise. Tender and tentative. A bridge over the wreckage. But doubt lingered. A shadow in the light. Was this love? Or just the thrill of the forbidden? And could we rebuild on ruins built on half-truths? Days blurred into a tentative rhythm. Coffee runs where our hands lingered. Gallery openings where she introduced me as mine. Tentative steps into a world we'd both skirted. My job at the Times ramped up. Chasing a lead on a scandal involving tech moguls and silenced whistleblowers. But evenings were hers. Cooking pasta in my tiny kitchen. Her head on my lap as we binge-watched old rom-coms. Mocking the tropes we now lived. Yet the fracture widened. Elena's words echoed, fueling late-night Google spirals, Riley's sparse socials, cryptic captions from Paris years. Then, 2 weeks in, the real bomb dropped. I came home early from a stakeout to find Riley on the phone in the bedroom, voice low and urgent. I can't. Elena. It's over. And whatever you think you know about Cassidy, don't. She doesn't need that poison. Pause. Then, because I protected her once. From you. My blood ran cold. I pushed the door open. Phone slipping from her hand. Protected me? From Elena. Riley's eyes widened in horror. Cass. It's not. Tell me. My voice was steel. The journalist in me surfacing. Now. She deflated. Sinking to the bed. Junior year. That party at Elena's loft, the one where you blacked out? You don't remember. But she made a move. Aggressive. You said no. But she didn't stop until I pulled you away. I told her to back off. Threatened to expose her if she came near you again. She's got a history, handsy with drunk girls. Rumors in the art scene. I kept it quiet to spare you the drama. The questions. Revulsion twisted my gut. I'd woken with a pounding head and vague unease. Chalked it up to too many shots. And you never said? Let me walk around blind. You were healing from your dad's death, she said softly. My father's cancer had hit like a freight train that spring, leaving me adrift. The last thing you needed was another monster under the bed. I handled it. For us. Gratitude warred with fury. She'd been my shield. Silent and steadfast. But at what cost? You can't keep saving me. Riley. That's not love, it's control. The argument escalated. Words like shrapnel. Her accusing me of building walls with my career. Me firing back that her protection was just fear in disguise. Doors slammed. I stormed to the living room. Curling on the couch with a glass of wine that tasted like ash. Hours later. She joined me. Sliding to the floor at my feet. I'm scared too, she admitted. Head on my knee. Of losing you. For real this time. Tears blurred my vision. Then stop hiding. All of it. We talked until the rain stopped, really talked. Peeling back layers like onions. Laughing through the sting. By midnight. We were wrapped together. Her heartbeat a steady drum against mine. But the seed of doubt had taken root. Trust, once cracked, doesn't mend overnight. Fall deepened into winter's grasp. Manhattan cloaked in the hush of early snow. Our love was a fragile bloom in the frost, passionate nights giving way to mornings of quiet negotiation. Learning the dance of two souls who'd shared a lifetime but never truly collided. Riley's studio became our haven, a sunlit loft in Bushwick. Canvases leaning like sentinels. The air thick with the tang of oils and possibility. She showed me the portraits at last, me in fragments, laughing at a Mets game, fierce over a laptop, vulnerable in sleep. You're my muse, she said. Brush in hand, daubing color onto a fresh stretch. But now, you're my everything. I believed her. Or tried to. My article dropped that December, a bombshell exposé on the tech scandal, front page glory that came with threats from shadowy execs, and a bottle of champagne from my editor. Riley celebrated with me, toasting in bed with takeout lobster rolls, her pride a balm to the paranoia creeping in. You're unstoppable, she murmured, nuzzling my neck. My fierce Cassidy. But the threats escalated. Anonymous emails. A slashed tire outside the office. Paranoia turned to fear. And I leaned harder on her, canceling solo runs, jumping at shadows. Riley was there. Always walking me home. Installing that damn Ring camera I'd resisted. I've got you, she'd say. And for a while, it was enough. Christmas Eve found us at my mom's in Atlanta. A powder keg visit I dreaded. Mama, widowed and sharp-tongued, had grilled me over Thanksgiving about that white girlfriend who'd finally gotten some sense knocked into her. Riley charmed her over pecan pie, sharing stories of Portland rains that mirrored Georgia storms, but the undercurrent simmered. Late that night, as snow dusted the suburbs, an anomaly that had the neighborhood kids shrieking, Riley and I slipped onto the porch swing, bundled in blankets, passing a thermos of spike cider. Your mom's intense, she said, smirking. She loves hard. Hates harder. I leaned into her, the swing creaking softly. Like someone else I know. Her laugh was low, intimate. Guilty. Then, quieter. Cass, there's something I need to tell you. About Elena. My stomach dropped. Now? Here. She nodded. stealing herself. After that party, she didn't just back off. She came after me. Blackmailed. Sort of. Said she had photos from the loft, implying things about you and me that night. Blurry. Nothing concrete, but enough to twist. She threatened to leak them to the art world. Tank my career before it started. Ice flooded my veins. And I slept with her. The words landed like blows. Once. To shut her up. Told her it was a one-off. That I'd delete the photos myself if she handed over the drive. It was disgusting. Cast transactional. Soulless. But I did it for you. To bury it all. Betrayal roared through me. Hot and blinding. I jerked away. The swing chains rattling. You what? With her. To protect me again. It was 10 years ago. Riley's voice cracked. Desperate. Before Paris. I was young. Stupid. In love with a ghost. I hated myself for it, still do. But it worked. She destroyed the drive. And we never spoke of it. Until now. I stood. Blanket pooling at my feet. The cold biting deep. How many times? Riley, how many sacrifices on my behalf that you turned into your private hell? Tears silvered her lashes. I thought if I told you sooner, you'd hate me. Or worse, pity me. This was my shame to carry. Your shame. I laughed, bitter and broken. You made decisions for me. Slept with someone to save my reputation. Without asking if I could handle the truth. That's not love, it's ownership. The porch light flickered on. Mama's silhouette in the doorway. But she wisely retreated. Riley reached for me. But I stepped back. The snow muffling my sobs. I need space. Air. I fled inside. Barricading in the guest room. Replaying it all, the rooftop kiss. The hidden letters. The portraits that now felt like surveillance. By morning, Riley was gone, back to New York on the red eye. A note on the dresser. I love you enough to let you go if that's what you need. Come home when you're ready. R. Atlanta's holidays dragged. A haze of family dinners and forced cheer. Mama cornered me on New Year's. Her eyes sharp as ever. That girl's got ghosts. Baby. But so do you. Question is, can y'all haunt each other without breaking? Her words lingered as I boarded the flight home. Resolve hardening. The city welcomed me with slush and sirens. My apartment echoing with absence. No text from Riley, just radio silence. A void that ached deeper than anger. I dove into work. The threats morphing into a full-blown stalker. Packages at the office. Whispers in dark alleys. One night, returning from a late edit session, I found my door ajar. Locks jimmied. Heart in throat. Called 911. Then Riley. She arrived before the cops. Face ashen. Pulling me into the hall as blue lights flashed. They didn't take anything, the officer said. Surveying the toss drawers. Looks like a message. Riley's arm around me was steel. Stay with me. Please. I did. Her loft became fortress and refuge. Deadbolts triple-checked. Her body a shield in the night. As weeks passed, the stalker went quiet. My peace sparking federal probes that scared them off. But the real unraveling was ours. One February evening. Snow blanketing the city in hush. We sat cross-legged on her studio floor amid half-finished canvases. A bottle of Merlot between us. The air thick with unspoken endings. I'm sorry, she said first. Voice small. For Elena. For everything. I thought I was being noble. But I was selfish, keeping you close by any means. Tears pricked my eyes. And I'm sorry for making you feel like you had to. For not seeing how much you carried. I took her hand. The familiar calluses from brushes grounding me. But trust, it's shattered. Can we rebuild? Or is this the part where we let go humanely? She searched my face. Hope flickering. What do you want? You, I whispered. But real. No more guardians or ghosts. Just us. Messy and true. The kiss that followed was a vow, slow, sealing cracks with intention. We didn't rush. Therapy sessions followed. Joint ones where we unpacked the decade's debris. Laughing at the absurdity. Crying over the pain. Spring thawed the city. And us. Walks in the park where she sketched me openly. My bylines now including her dedications in the margins. The climax came in May. At her solo show in Chelsea, a riot of color celebrating hidden loves. The centerpiece. A massive triptych of us, rooftop youth. Shadowed secrets. Sunlit now. Critics raved. Elena slunk in shadows. Her glare impotent against our light. As the crowd thinned, Riley pulled me to the canvas. Champagne flutes clinking. This is us. Finally, I leaned in. Forehead to hers. No more secrets? None. Her smile was sunlight. Just forever. We didn't marry, not yet. But in the humanism of it all, the forgiveness forged in fire. The love that bent but didn't break, we found grace. Two women. Scarred and soaring. Rewriting our story in the heart of America's endless reinvention. And in the quiet moments, her hand in mine, I knew. Some secrets save you. Others set you free.